recent estimates show the number of sharks being killed per year is increasing actually quite alarmingly from 76 to 80 million per year, despite a 10 times increase in the number of regulations to protect these sharks.
Hi everyone! Okay, welcome back to another video of our Marine Conservation series. I am Wei Ling and I'll be a moderator for today. We'll be talking about shark finning. Okay, so joining us will be two guest speakers, Wei Kai and Reina. Okay, and both of them are shark research experts at the NUS Reef Ecology Lab. So thank you for taking your time down for our podcast. So Wei Kai, I recently saw your Instagram post about your snorkeling trip to Batam. Yeah, and that is when you came up close and personal with a black-tailed reef shark. Yeah, how do you feel about it?
So I was actually very excited because it's always been a dream to see such amazing predators in the wild instead of in the aquarium. So I actually almost hyperventilated. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's a reaction that I wasn't expecting. Personally, I'm a bit afraid of sharks,
Okay.
Yeah, okay, so to start off, maybe have you guys heard about that article whereby on November 27, okay, Canada actually unveiled a recent case about illegal shark fishing activities?
So actually I heard about it. So personally I find it quite disheartening. The practice of shark finning is honestly quite cruel. Like imagine yourself, you're a shark and then you're just going through the waters and then next moment, bam! You're hooked out of the water and your fins are just cut off from you, and this whole time you're just awake and then they just throw your body back into the ocean and you're just incapacitated. So yeah, it's quite sad. But anyways, back to this topic. So I understand that there's been this multinational effort with countries like the USA and Japan where they coordinate the fisheries enforcement to protect the global shark stocks. So this program is actually called Operation North Pacific Guard. So it's led by the Fisheries and Oceans Canada and it's supported by the Canadian Coast Guard. They conduct high seas patrols, air surveillance and satellite monitoring. But unfortunately this time out of 15 ships that they raided, nearly half of them violated conservation measures.
Okay, so maybe for our viewers, can you maybe elaborate what are these conservation measures?
So in North Pacific, one such measure by the Western Central Pacific Fisheries Commission is that the regulators require the fins to be left attached to the shark if they are not released unharmed, or at least bag the bodies and fins together. So this basically reduces the number of sharks that the vessels can carry because the bodies will take up a lot of space and so less of them can be harvested.
Yeah, and on top of that, it's supposedly helped to ensure that endangered sharks are not being targeted. And there are also regulations on the type of fishing that's allowed. So for example, drift net fishing, which involves using mouths of these gill nets, and this will really catch and kill every single organism in the water that passes through it. And this is not allowed. And there are also specific time periods during the year, such as the fishing season, the vessels are allowed to operate in such a way that fish populations can recover during the off-season.
Okay. So given that there are so many measures out there and they're enforced, right? Why is it that these measures are constantly being violated?
I think one of the biggest reasons is really it's just too lucrative for them to really give up on it. Because these shark fins have a market value of about 400 to 500 million USD dollars per year. And they have been traditionally used as Chinese medicines or made into shark fin soup, which is really a delicacy in Asia associated with prestige and wealth. And really more than 90% of all these shark fin imports goes to China and Hong Kong. And it certainly does not help that really the source of these fins are completely unknown once they are being processed and placed in the market, since they are not tagged at all.
So they're talking about all this effort to protect the sharks, but why do we need to protect sharks?
Well, other than intrinsic appreciation, sharks are what we call keystone species. So they have a large influence on the habitats they live in our ocean ecosystem. So they play a role in top-down regulation, so they help to prevent the population size of species below them in the food chain from becoming too large and imbalancing the populations. So for example, in Hawaii, tiger sharks have a positive impact on seagrass beds because they keep the turtle population in check and they prevent them from overgrazing. This can allow for greater species diversity in the ecosystems that they inhabit. Furthermore, they are able to keep populations of fish healthy because they often prey on those weak or ill fish, and this helps to improve the gene pool of the fish populations and in the long term can prevent disease outbreaks. This also means that they could potentially serve as indicator species for the health of our sea habitats. Let's say if they are to disappear then maybe some of the conditions are bad in the waters. Yeah.
Yeah, and additionally, sharks also do play an important role in ocean carbon cycle. And some of these sharks actually help to move the carbon around the ocean when they feed on the dead matters on the ocean floor. And similar to whales, when sharks die and sink at the sea floor, the accumulated carbon in their bodies will return to the carbon reserve beds and allows the carbon to be recycled once again. And this process gets disrupted when you take sharks out from these oceans by these fishing vessels.
So actually these sharks are really important for our ecosystems. Okay, so in this idea, right, okay, what do you think about the current conservation measures? Are they effective?
Well, I think the short answer is no, because recent estimates show the number of sharks being killed per year is increasing actually quite alarmingly from 76 to 80 million per year, despite a 10 times reduction, or rather increase in the number of regulations to protect these sharks. And more than 30% of this 76 to 80 million sharks, they are being culled to extinction. And furthermore, as the article says, such a measure doesn't really properly resolve this shark mortality. And it ended up opening new markets for other shark parts, such as their meat and oil, and this inevitably drives new demand for these endangered animals. And I think really limiting the number and the weight of sharks that can be caught would be better. However, such measures will really need proper enforcement. And another way to provide these sharks with more or another way to do it is to provide these sharks with more sanctuaries or reserve where no fishing is allowed. However, this really requires good transboundary enforcement and cooperation. And not only that, we really don't know where the nursery grounds are or where they travel in the ocean, particularly those that are more elusive or even new species that we have not known in the first place.
Okay, Wei Kai, what do you think about this?
Yeah, so personally, I feel in order to control this problem at the root cause, we should also educate the public and increase our outreach to them, both the current consumers and also the future generation. So many consumers may have briefly heard that it's bad to kill sharks, but maybe they don't fully understand how dire the situation actually is. So I think that we must start working towards shifting cultural mindsets, which may be most effective if we start with the future generation. Certainly, we also need to reverse the misrepresentations of sharks that has occurred in the past, such as like the movies of Jaws portraying them as mindless killing machines. I think that if we can reduce such a stereotypical view, then the society will be able to treat sharks with more respect, and this can help our conservation efforts.
It's really difficult to help to combat these issues. So,
Yeah.
but interestingly, I heard about a research about the lab-grown shark fin. Have you heard about this? Is this true?
Yeah, so actually this is actually true. So there's actually a company called Alpha Food Lab which started to do this in 2018. They researched about it and they were selling it. So what they did was they grew the shark fin stem cells in a bioreactor and they sold them in like a bottled form. So they are undernamed Fox Fin on this website called Future Market. But looking at the current scene, I don't believe there's that big of a demand for this innovation. So for starters, it's actually $88.88 for one bottle, and there's not really any other companies further developing it.
Wow, that's a really steep price. Okay, so even though 888 is a really auspicious number, but actually I think getting the actual shark fin will be much cheaper, right? Yeah, so I think the cost should be lower compared to actual shark fin for this whole lab-grown shark fin project to work. Yeah, so maybe better speaking, in my opinion, I think majority of the consumers in Singapore said they would rather buy a substitute ingredient such as fish maw, which can aid in conservation efforts.
Yeah, actually agree. Actually, there was recently a survey in Singapore that was published, if I remember, January last year, that tried to understand Singapore's shark fin market. And it conducted with 300 shark fin consumers. And Singapore was chosen because actually it's one of the largest, if not the largest, shark fin exports. And Singapore, and based on this study, 2/3 of the respondents are actually more willing to pay for responsibly wild sourced sharks over lab cultured shark fins. And furthermore, having a scalable market for responsibly sourced shark fins remains challenging. For most of the sharks actually currently managed for sustainability, they are not appropriate for fish trade. And really only 8.7% of the fins in the global fin trade are thought to originate from sustainable sources.
I didn't know Singapore was one of the largest, not the largest hub for shark fin exports. Is our government doing anything about it?
Yeah, so Singapore is actually part of CITES, which protects endangered plants and animals from trade. However, NUS did a research on shark fins sold in Singapore using DNA barcoding technology, and they realized that about 5 of the species that were protected by CITES were being sold in our markets. So we do see some tools to help with upholding the protective nature of selling endangered shark fins, such as an app called Fin Finder, which helps police officers use AI to detect if they are from illegally traded sharks.
But definitely more can be done in this aspect, right? So what I hope is that we can continue to make strides in both in the government as well as in personal endeavors. Okay, so and before we end the video for today, what can our viewers take away from our sharing?
Well, I would like to end off with a very easy to remember acronym. SHARK, S-H-A-R-K. S stands for share. Share what you know about the people around you. And many are consuming all these things without knowing that they may be from endangered species or from non-responsible sources. H, help plan and participate in outreach and in lawmaking. You may even be the voice for related agencies or people in your grassroots. A, alert. Alert the authorities if you see illegal activities. If you suspect that it is an endangered species that is being traded, inform the police. R, replace shark fins with alternatives. Avoid eating shark fins and replace it with other substitutes such as fish maw, which is way cheaper. Lastly, K, know more about the issue at hand. Without you learning and finding out, you'll also be oblivious to all these issues.
That's a really wonderful acronym, SHARK, SHARK. Okay, so and with that, thank you all for coming to our video and staying with us to the end. Stay tuned.
Okay.
Thank you.
I
Yes.